Welcome back to my garage. My cylinders should be here in, well, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I think, hopefully now. So we can actually assemble the land speed engine, and I'm leaving for America in 2 weeks now. So we're running out of time. Still waiting for plugs and plug caps and the ignition unit, but that should be here this week also. This weekend I've been working hard to get well, one of 2 tiny little dirt bikes functional for my kids, because they suddenly caught some interest in dirt bikes, which is cool. And I'm also working on getting the bike for this engine up and running. I thought it would be just a matter of, well, you can see the hacked on ignition unit here, of switching out the ignition, and surely the switching out the ignition worked, but I started noticing more and more things touched and of course destroyed by the gnarled hands of Norwegian moped kids, which led to this point where I'm gonna completely disassemble and fix it, hopefully. I haven't got seals, so hopefully the seals are okay. I'm gonna make a new gasket after splitting. Dropped it in my coffee. Yeah, fine. What's the clean bolt? And there's my taper enlargement solution, a copper sleeve. With grease on my hands and a spark in my eye, old moped's heart's gonna learn to fly. Chain hangs loose like a forgotten song. Handlebars wobbly, but I'll make them strong. Paint peeling off, but it won't be long till this old machine is where it belongs. I hear the whispers of its past ride, echoes of laughter where secrets hide. Gonna stitch up the cracks in its pride and take it on one last countryside glide. Oh, rusty dreams with a sputter and a sigh. Gonna breathe you back under that open sky, with grease on my hands and a spark in my eye. Got it in there and now it's super tight. I think we'll have to wait. I'll have to order bearings. I'll order bearings and seals. Let's do it properly. Da 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 da! My cylinders are back from plating at Emot Racing. Thank you, Emot Racing and Power Seal, yet again. They are looking beautiful. And also my ignition unit from Sealtronic arrived. Thank you, Sealtronic. This means we have work to do. I have to clean up my desk here and we'll start assembling the engine. Well, we'll have to tap some holes first. I've bought some fancy watertight connectors and a crimping tool for them. So that's why the mess I've been playing around with. Just test crimping. First thought I could get away without the tool, but nah. Better to have the correct tool. Let me clean the desk and we'll start assembling.
En el taller con sudor en la frente, mi motor nuevo, un sueño latente. 2 tiempos rugen como un trueno distante, el corazón late con ritmo constante. Con mis manos y esta vieja llave le doy forma a un rugido que sabe a pasión pura y camino sin freno. Cada tuerca es un paso hacia el cielo. Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa. te construyo con amor y paciencia. Eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia. El humo baila como nubes ligeras, el aceite fluye historia enteras, la chispa salta, el fuego comienza, mi máquina vive llena de presencia, la noche llega, el taller no descansa, cada giro es un paso en la danza, dos tiempos grita en perfecta armonía, es mi obra, mi motor, mi alegría.
That slight mismatch up here, but that I can like a millimeter, so I can fix that with a file.
Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa, te construyo con amor y paciencia, eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia.
I should maybe have given myself more. Nah, it's fine. It's pretty much locked down there, so hopefully I think I want to enlarge the holes here a tiny little bit to be able to center. Of course, I should have put in some alignment pins. Maybe I'll do that, but it's like maybe 0.5 millimeter skewed in this direction. The reason for that is like compounding small errors in machining. And so I think I want to drill this out to 6.5 maybe. Not the most low profile nuts, but well, they're airtight and they're definitely long enough.
En el taller con sudor en la frente, mi motor nuevo, un sueño latente. Dos tiempos rugen como un trueno distante, el corazón late con ritmo constante. Con mis manos y esta vieja llave, le doy forma a un rugido que sabe a pasión pura y camino sin freno. Cada tuerca es un paso hacia el cielo. Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa. Te construyo con amor y paciencia. Eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia.
I've got the shims on there that worked with the spacers, and we had a tiny little bit too much play. And these are a tiny little bit less thick than the actual bearings, so this should be very close to perfect, which is perfect for actual play. Is that going on a little crooked? Yes, it is. I think I might want to heat this up. I might have cooked that bearing a little bit too hard. It turned a straw color, actually bluish in some points. So I think it's compromised, and we should put in. Well, we'll see how it works, and we'll replace it. We'll replace it after the test assembly and test fire. Note to self: don't heat them that much. They're expensive too.
El humo baila como nubes ligeras, el aceite fluye historia enteras, la chispa salta, el fuego comienza, mi Mi máquina vive llena de presencia. La noche llega, el taller no descansa. Cada giro es un paso en la danza. Dos tiempos grita en perfecta armonía. Es mi obra, mi motor, mi alegría.
So obviously my calculations with the 3D printed bearings were off, because this is much more end play than what I wanted. This forces me to take that thing off again, which is good. And then we can use one that's not cooked, and we'll have that as a spare. Now, thanks to Mitutoyo, we can quantify how much we need to add shim-wise. This would have been more suitable here, but the stem is thicker. I think maybe that's because it's Imperial, something like that. Anyways, let's pull this all the way in. So 0.78. I've got 0.1 and 0.15 shims here, 2 for each side, and that should bring us up to roughly 0.25 on each side, which should be perfect. Let's try that. Okay. Have we learned our lesson? That's the question. I'm gonna heat up the other bearing and get it on here. This time without overheating it. Hopefully. First, let's double check the shims here and see what we've got. Oh, there's 0.3. We add 0.5 millimeter shims to each side here. That should give us a slightly loose but acceptable. Yeah, there's 7.3. 0.3. A slightly loose but acceptable and better than tight axle clearance. We'll have to live with needing to do a little bit of a press, I think. Nope, we're fine. Okay, so that's all it takes. Note to self, be more careful heating stuff up. Okay, 0.20, so 0.3. Okay, that's good, that's good. And added bonus, we're running a not cooked bearing on the rotary valve side. Yeah, that worked really well actually. A little bit further in, so let's try stacking these. And that's perfect, because now I won't have to worry about having a super thin spacer, like I can, and it doesn't touch the seal. And then I give it a little bit of like I push it around in the groove just to make sure that it's actually seated. Okay, so now let's test fit the cylinder without the gasket and see where our squish is sitting, and without the piston ring, of course. And we'll gap the ring later on. I'm gonna check the piston clearance also, even though I can't really do anything about it now because the pistons are here and the cylinders are here. And I need longer of these, and short these I can cut, but I need longer ones of these really.
El humo baila como nubes ligeras, el aceite fluye historia enteras.
We're sitting at 0.87.
perfecta armonía. Es mi obra, mi motor, mi alegría. Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa. Tu rugido
So
es mi
we're clipping the head, and that means it's misaligned enough for it to we'll have to enlarge the holes in the head and the head insert, so that we can properly align it, as it's a tiny little bit off center. Good thing it didn't go together perfectly, because I forgot to put on the O-ring that's supposed to go here. We'll have to do that.
Construyo con amor y paciencia. Eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia.
Now there's a little bit of play here, and by pushing it mostly forwards like that, we're centered correctly. This might not be the case with the other cylinders. This is because of inaccuracies in dialing in the bore for drilling the bolt holes and all that. So inevitable, really. Here's that O-ring I was talking about. That's supposed to sit here. There's a large chamfer or bevel here that pushes down on it. Now it spins freely, doesn't hit the head, the piston doesn't hit the head, and let's check our squish gap. We're tight enough to go single strand. 0.38. That's because of the crush of the gasket. That's not a problem. We want it up to like 0.6 to be on the safe side, as we're going to spin like 20,000 RPM. And that's why I made these. So this is 0.12, 0.1 millimeters. So if we put that in there, and also keep in mind I'm measuring the gap on one side, so the piston cocks a little bit. So it's probably a little bit tighter than what we're seeing. But we're gonna add this and check again, and if it's good, we're gonna gap the ring and install it. I'm going with this paper version instead, just because it's a tiny bit thicker. 0.5. For safety sake, we're gonna add another one of those pink gaskets upon final assembly. That should bring us up to 0.6. I should have done the ring gap before assembling the head, or putting the head onto the cylinder, but it doesn't really matter. Usually I measure the ring gap up there, because that's where it's going to run. But I'm going to double check the cylinder now and see. First of all, I've checked my Mitutoyo bore gauge just to see that it's actually calibrated, and with this calibration ring, and everything is sitting at the same temperature. So now I'm going to see, just make sure the bore is straight and two dimension. So we should be reading dead on 40. So there we're reading 40 plus, so 40.005. And here we're reading 40.004. So it's dead on. Well, that means it won't be a problem to check the ring gap down here versus up there. It shouldn't be, and it isn't. And the ring gap is, I can already tell it's far too tight. We want to run at least 0.2 millimeters. I think 0.3 is better, because we're going to run like full blast for several minutes without much warm-up. At the moment it's sitting at pretty much nothing. think I went too far, as is tradition, of course. Luckily I've got a bunch of rings here and in America. Not that bad actually. So 0.35 fits in there super snug. Okay, I call that good.
En el taller con sudor en la frente, mi motor nuevo, un sueño latente. Dos tiempos rugen como un trueno distante. El corazón late con ritmo constante. Con mis manos y esta vieja llave le doy forma a un...
Camera is running out of storage too. I think we'll have to call it a day. We're so close though.
Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa. Te construyo con amor y paciencia. Eres mi escape.
Sunday night. Last time you saw me was Friday. The next logical step now would be the rotary valve, the variator, and then the ignition trigger. We're going to do the ignition trigger first though, because now it's mounted like it's exactly like it's supposed to be, and so we can mount the trigger and then see that it works. See if we have to make changes. Better to have to make changes and disassemble this than when everything's assembled. A couple of options here, I've talked about them before. Option number one is using thread sealant like this. Second option is a Teflon tape. I think maybe this is the best option because the threads here are fairly loose. It makes me want to use this because I think this will help isolate this from vibrations, and also I think it'll seal well as the threads are loose. Like that. The sensor is hooked up to power and the signal wire is hooked up to the meter. And now it's reading 48 millivolts. It's seeing metal, so that's 0, low. And now I'm turning it and hopefully we'll see the trigger point some time here. There. Turning back. And there's the trigger point. Micrometer in the plug hole. So first we're going to find top dead center. And that means going until this starts going down again. Starts falling. So it's still rising. Okay, that's top dead center. That's 0. And now we want to see where this triggers. Okay, so 3, 3, 4. I'll call that 3, 3, 4. Let me check what that is in degrees. 377 would be 31 degrees. And 317 would be 30 degrees. We'll set base timing to 30 degrees in the ignition unit. So I've set, this is sitting at top dead center now. I've set that with an indicator. We're just going to use some calipers. So now I'm going to check how far down top dead center is. 24.48, and I'll 0 there. And then we want 20.09, I think. I've locked the calipers and now we're going to set it to, we got to remember we're talking about after, so this is the closing time. It's supposed to close 85 degrees after top dead center. So I'm spinning the crank in the opposite direction until it hits now. There. And in this position the valve should have closed the hole. Just closed it. And now this should be positioned so that it just closed the hole. The valve should just have closed when this stops now. Perfect. Perfect. Perfecto.
El humo baila como nubes ligeras, el aceite fluye historia enteras, la chispa salta, el fuego comienza, mi máquina vive llena de presencia, la noche llega, el taller no descansa, cada giro es un paso en la danza, dos tiempos grita en perfecta armonía, es mi obra, mi motor, mi alegría. Que cantas en la brisa. risa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa. Te construyo con amor y paciencia, eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia.
I just received notification for a package ready for pickup, and it's the perfect package for what I'm about to do now. So hang on. I postponed the fabrication of my little makeshift engine stand because of a thing I picked up yesterday, and I had to postpone further making of that engine stand because I was missing a key part. And now, after grabbing that key part, I realize I had the wrong kind of another key part, and now I can't postpone anymore, so I'll have to no sneak peek into what I picked up yesterday.
En el taller con sudor en la frente, mi motor nuevo, un sueño latente. Los tiempos rugen como un trueno distante, el corazón late con ritmo constante. Con mis manos y esta vieja llave le doy forma a un rugido que sabe a pasión pura y camino sin freno. Cada tuerca es un paso hacia el cielo. Oh, motor que cantas en la brisa, tu rugido es mi mayor sonrisa. Te construyo con amor y paciencia, eres mi escape, mi gran resistencia.
Siltronic software, the programmer is hooked up to the computer, hooked up to the ignition unit, and it says it's successfully connected. And I'm gonna disable TPS. I'm gonna set the rev limit to 20k. Siltronic told me they could up the rev limit because I don't want it to be at 20k, I think. 1 pulse per revolution, static angle 30 degrees, 15 flat line. And well, that's pretty much it. Test spark execution. Ooh, it works. Perfect. Fuel hooked up, ignition seems to be working. I'll turn on the water and hopefully it doesn't just spring a leak. Choke, fuel on, ignition on. What could be the problem, officer? So obviously it's not picking up the trigger signal. I think I found the problem. Of course it was my fault, my mistake. I'm supposed to ground this and I haven't. That's the negative for the pickup if you're running a reluctor pickup. And I've already confirmed that the hall sensor is actually working as it should. So let me hook this up and we'll try again. I forgot to hit record, but you can probably tell by the smoke that it works. No exhaust extraction at the moment, so I can't test it too much, but it works. So it works, and there's no reason for it not to work well, I hope. As Travis's dyno is up and running, the proper testing will be done in Colorado. What we need to do now is prepare the 2 other cylinders, the cases, and just prepare everything. And I won't bring everything over this will next week, but everything will be brought over for Bonneville in August. See you next time.